Caral returned, and nothing happened to Dazil. And as the days slipped by, Jay began to think the whole thing was the dark fantasy of an unhappy wife. Dazil had paid no attention to his suggestion that it was in her best interest to continue to behave normally. She was silent and tense, pale and haunted. She appeared at every gathering, staying visibly in company until the very end, and she said nothing to anyone. At her side, Caral was hearty and gruff as ever, and appeared not to have noticed any change in his wife. It was difficult to believe that he could be so blind, and Jay wondered what in the name of the Empress they said to each other when they were alone. He had tried to ask Dazil whether she thought there was any change in Caral, whether on his return her suspicions were reinforced or not, but she had merely shaken her head faintly and said nothing. Her lack of response and her inertia irritated him. If she thought her husband was plotting to murder her with the connivance of his psychopathic blood-sworn servant, she should at least take advantage of the fact that she shared his bed every night to assess the danger more accurately. Moping around, silent and scared, was not the way to self-preservation. He was keeping an eye on Sagat, but Sagat had done nothing remotely suspicious. That was as much as he could do by himself. He was in the courtyard giving Marile a fire staff lesson when the message came that there was a call for him on the satellite link. "Cellier has asked to see you," said General Neveth. "Star Rider headquarters on Zanhuel, 4 days' time. I hope you meant it when you said you wanted to serve on a ship, because if she likes you, she won't take kindly to being turned down." "I meant it, sir. Thank you." He strode out onto the battlements and swallowed the mild evening air, looking at the bleak horizon where a few stars twinkled in the dusk. Euphoric. It was the excitement of escape, the exhilaration of relief, as much as the prospect of being selected to serve on board a ship. He did not know Cellier of Ali, but he was sure that once in front of her, he could convince her that he was the sword-bearer she wanted, and at the moment he was prepared to charm for his life anyone with the power to lift him clean out of this whole nasty situation. He sought Caral out immediately and asked permission to take leave of absence. "Neveth's been talking to me too," said Caral abruptly, not looking at him. "I wish you wouldn't do this, Cheval. I need you here." "Commander Cellier has only asked to see me, sir." "But you want to go, eh?" "I've always felt a calling to serve among the stars." "Like any wet-eared green cadet. I thought you had your feet on the ground." He sighed, though it was more like a snort. "You were never going to stick around here, I knew that. Just passing through, you might as well have it written on your forehead, eh? Talented, high-flying, full of ideas, energy, just like in the real. But you don't owe me anything, so off you go. We'll survive." Jay bowed and made his exit smartly. It was possible that he could have handled that more diplomatically, but at the moment he was not concerned about leaving bruised feelings behind him on Caravale, just in effecting a clean and rapid departure. The corvette would be arriving for him in the morning, and he was going to pack most of his few possessions with a view not to returning at all, if possible. He could spend a day or two on Antra renewing contacts before travelling on to Zahual. When he returned to his quarters to pack, he found Dazil waiting for him in the corridor outside. She might have been emerging from her own room at the end of the passage, but she had an air of lurking in the shadows. Jay gave her a formal, silent bow and carried on into his room without looking back. She followed him in anyway. "I hope you looked to make sure there was nobody out there," said Jay coldly, locking the door and getting his case out from the bottom of the store cupboard. He did not want to encourage another hysterical conversation. "Of course I did. I had to talk to you.
Well?
What do you mean, well? How can you say that? Stop that! She interposed between him and the case. Are you really leaving?
I'm going to Zahual to see a Star Rider commander in charge of manning a new ship. She might call me to serve on it, and if she does, then yes, I will probably go.
But why?
Why? Why should I stay here? There's not much prospect for anyone not of Clan Veal, and anyway, I was only ever supposed to be a stopgap until Pariel could take over.
What about me?
I've told you what you could do. If you really believe your life's in danger, I offered to help. You don't seem to have shown any interest in taking me up on that. It's up to you, Btazil. There's only so much I can do. She was silent for a long moment.
All right, she said firmly. I'll go with you.
What? Go where?
Wherever you're going. I'll do what you said. I'll dress up as a servant. I'll pretend to be your servant. Then when we get there, I could pretend to be your wife.
Don't be ridiculous.
Why? Who would know? How would they be able to tell if I'm your wife or not? These people we've never met. Because, for a start, you couldn't escape from Caraveal pretending to be my servant, because everyone here knows I don't have one. Secondly, it would look mightily suspicious, even to a fool like Corral, if you disappeared at exactly the same time as me. The only way to do this kind of thing is alone, unnoticed, not attached to someone whose identity is known. You would get us both caught within the day. So, you're just going to leave me?
There's nothing more I can do. The best thing I can do for both our safety is to get off Caraveal and far away.
But I love you.
The shock of this non sequitur threw him off balance, and he stared at her, trying hard to contain his anger. He was doing his best to help her in circumstances which were not easy for him, and she was talking half-witted nonsense. What has that got to do with it?
I want to go with you. Not just to escape from Corral and Sagat. I want to be with you.
That's impossible. Come on, use your intelligence. What the hell did you think this was going to lead to? You're married to Corral, and there's nothing you can do about it. Even if there were, I wouldn't take you with me. I'm safer alone. It was easy, after all, to end an affair. Her eyes grew wider and filled with pain, and she gathered herself together and left without another word. Jay finished packing with a euphoric sense of relief. There was a pounding in his head. He sat upright and realised the hammering sound was filling the darkness, that someone was banging on the door. His first thought in the disorientation of sudden waking was that it was Dazil, panicked and making a racket in the middle of the night. His second, an instant later, was that she had been found dead, and this was a terrified guard come to rouse him with news. When he flung open the door, he was confronted instead by 3 armed sword-bearers whom he did not know, and Zamuel, a senior commander from Antra. They did not bow. "What is this, Samuel? It's the middle of the night." "You've to come with us immediately," said Samuel. 2 of the 3 warriors stepped forward and actually started to lay hands on him. Jay shrugged them sharply off with the authority his rank could muster, and they deferred. "Why?" "There have been charges made against you, serious charges. You're under arrest, pending investigation." "What charges?" "Fraud, deceit, impersonation, and injuring the dignity of the sword-bearer caste. You'll be charged before the council of your clan. I've to take you to Antra now. Come on." He had no chance even to pick up his packed bag, and this time he could not, without undignified violence, stop the warriors seizing an arm each and marching him, as he was, down the darkened corridor. Zamuel walked up front, the other warrior behind. At the head of the main stairway stood Corral, Sagat, and Dazil, with some others. Zamuel stopped and bowed to Corral, without an exchange of words. Jay barely registered that Corral was looking dazed. His eyes instead had locked with Daziel's. She was standing a little apart from the others, tall and straight, and completely composed, and her expression, blazing out from a pale, sculpted face, was cold fire.